Wind is tremendously helpful feature inside of Marvelous Designer if we are working on clothing that we want to look dynamic and we don't want to use animation or any external programs for that. We can always come into the environment display and play with the wind inside of Marvelous. If we click on this icon that represents the wind controller, we see this little object, this little cone appearing in the scene, and this is wind. And if we click on this cone, we can see in the property editor everything that we get to choose in the settings of the controller. To activate this, we simply need to click on this little box. Once we do that and we press simulate, we can see that it creates the desired effect. And this is, as I mentioned at the beginning, this is tremendously helpful for something that has to look dynamic. So in this case, we're using a cape, and this could be anything. This could be a jacket, a coat, anything that has to look dynamic, that needs to be represented as if a force of nature was pushing it, was pulling it. In this case, it's wind. This could be also a underwater scene or something like that. This could be tremendously helpful for collectibles, because superheroes are quite popular in the collectibles community, and most of the superheroes, in one way or the other, they have some kind of capes or some kind of posture that has dynamism in it, and especially in the clothing. So for all those cases, wind is the go-to tool. To talk a little bit about the settings, we have the type. If we look at the cone and we choose spherical, we can see that instead of the cone we have a sphere, and what it does, it basically shows that the force of the wind is going to be going from the center of the sphere in all the directions. So if there was some kind of polygons on the sphere, imagine that every normal of this polygon has wind coming out. So the sphere is something that can create a very chaotic, very turbulent effect if we want that. If we click simulate, let us move this a little bit closer.
If you enjoy this content or find it useful, please consider supporting me by buying me a cup of coffee via the link in the description.
Click simulate. You can see that it does exactly what we would expect. It blows in every direction. Whereas if we turn it back to planar, the pointy side of the cone, this side, this is where the wind is going to go from. So if we click simulate again, we can see that nothing happens with the cape. But once it gets past the point of the cone, the wind takes place, and the cape is behaving appropriately. So those are just two types of wind we have inside of Marvelous. The next setting, the next property is the strength, and this is quite simple. It just sets the strength of the wind. If we set it to, let's say, 5,000, we can see that this becomes quite extreme. Then we have decay, and decay works only with spherical wind. If we change something in here, if we set it to, let's say, 50, and we use the cone, nothing really happens. It doesn't really affect anything. But once we turn it to spherical, there's going to be some change. And decay is basically, it's like a fall off of the wind. It's the way Marvelous manual describes it is that the wind blows in an arc, and it gets weaker and weaker as it goes along the arc. I have to say this is rather confusing because I struggle to imagine wind having any kind of arc. So think of this as a fall off of the wind, and definitely give it a try. Definitely play with the settings to see exactly what happens to the garments. Then we have frequency, and this sets the time frame, basically how the wind is going to behave. So in this case, every 5 seconds the wind will turn off and then will turn back on again, as we can see here. And lastly, we have turbulence, and turbulence dictates just how chaotic the wind is. If we set it to, let's say, 100, it's going to be very chaotic, it's going to be very messy, it's going to blow, then it's going to stop blowing, and it's going to be very, very unpredictable. So if we want a steady flow of wind, if we want only nicely, if we only want nice and smooth force of the wind, we should set it to 0, and in this case we can predict what happens. But turbulence is really nice feature, because sometimes it creates those really interesting effects when the wind blows and then it stops blowing, and then this is the window for the garment to get affected by the gravity, and this creates a quite dynamic and interesting look in the garments. So turbulence is definitely one of those features that should be tested and played with. And lastly, just one thing to mention: the wind is also available in the animation. So if we are creating some kind of animation for the garments, we can always set keyframes when we can turn on or turn off the wind. We can change the settings. So this allows us to record the animation of the garments